Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Cancer Support Community Central Ohio's Natural Living Workshop with community herbalist Lily Kunning. We are greatly appreciative of her and Haven Herbs allowing her to present these monthly workshops on a variety of topics, helping us to live a healthier and safe and less chemical and toxin-free life. So today, Lily's going to be talking about body care. And Lily, we greatly appreciate you being here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Yeah, let me just share my screen really quick. Everybody see that? Okay, great. This is part of a whole series that I do on detoxification. And, a lot of people, when they use that, especially in social media, it's a weird code name for weight loss. That is not what I'm talking about. I am literally talking about taking toxins out of your life. And in this case, we're talking about body care products that you buy, at a big box store, a grocery store, even, locally if you buy it from a small purveyor. The thing to know is you need to look at the ingredients because not all body care actually cleans you. Some of it actually adds toxins to your body. So let's go ahead and get started. So one thing you should know is that in the United States, it's kind of caveat emptor, buyer beware, because the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, doesn't regulate body care at all. And most ingredients in formulas are not regulated, only a handful. And those are so beyond the pale that they have been banned in other countries for decades. But even ingredients that are banned in other countries, not for decades, are not banned here. And what that has led to is companies um, cheapening formulas as much as possible to increase profit margin. And it'd be one thing if it was just adding a lot of water, right? Like water's not going to hurt you, but it's not. One of the things that happens is they add a lot of toxic chemicals that should not be coming in contact with your body in order to inhibit mold growth, in order to stabilize things for the shelves, in order to preserve the quality of the product for years. The other thing that you should know is that in the United States, while testing is required of cosmetics and body care, companies do their own testing and report it to the FDA. And there's no political will, nor are there staffing priorities in that agency to verify testing results. And that has led to false results being submitted and later recalls. Um, and it's up to us as citizens to really elect officials that are going to put people in power in these agencies that are actually going to protect us. Because they're not protecting us. They are protecting corporate interests currently. There is a huge revolving door between industry lobbyists and head of agency appointments in the federal government. And we can't afford that anymore. We are up to our ears in all kinds of chemicals that are harming us, causing record numbers of autoimmune disease and cancer. And I did say that there is a direct link. Everybody, there are studies that show these chemicals are either carcinogens or endocrine disruptors, and those are huge problems. So again, it's caveat emptor. In the meantime, I want to teach you all to look for problems and avoid them while we push for more protection as a country. So, um, so given that there are, such a vast majority of products out there that contain bad chemicals, it makes it easier to make choices, not harder. When you know what you're looking for, it's easier to eliminate a whole swath of products and be able to narrow in on what is good. So, this is also an ebook that I'm going to be sending to Darlene so that you can have it. But I want you to look at several categories so that you can do just broad-based elimination and then focus on the good stuff and figure out which one is best for you. So we're going to look at packaging because yes, packaging matters. Um, when there are plastics, they leach into your product, particularly if it's a fat-based product like lotion or sunscreen. Things that are contained in plastic are contributing to microplastics in your body. And we all know now that that is definitely a thing and it is harmful. I'm also going to teach you how to read a label and what to look for as a red flag and what to look for as a green flag. And we're going to explore a few known brands so that you can see how to replace things. And let's start again with plastic. While it is everywhere, it is actually possible to avoid plastics. You end up having to pay more for products that are in plastics, but often they are a higher quality, more concentrated product anyway. So you will be using less because the people that don't package in plastic aren't looking to, cheapen the product itself, right? They're less likely to do that. And so when you see things that are packaged in glass and metal or paperboard, depending on what kind of product it is, you can hone in on those and look at the ingredients. Like you've already bypassed a whole group of body care products. Um, and I also would highly recommend not buying food packaged in plastic either. They simply toxify you, they toxify the planet. We all know about plastic pollution, like big plastic islands in the ocean and all of that, but it's also inside you. You are a microcosm of what's happening in the greater world, and it is causing some serious problems, microplastics. They cause cancer, they cause autoimmune disease, they cause fertility issues. And if you or anyone you know are working through some of those issues, looking to eliminate plastic from your life as much as possible. And I know how hard it is because I've worked on it and I still haven't done 100%, is worth it. It is worth the effort. So eliminate plastic as much as possible. That's step one. Step two is we're going to look at some classifications of ingredients and go through them. And you can avoid anything with these items: fragrance or parfum. So I will get into it, but if it just says fragrance and it doesn't tell you what that scent is made of, that is a problem. Parabens and fungicides, so these are in the product to lengthen its shelf life, to inhibit mold growth. It's in things that contain moisture, usually shampoos, toothpastes, lotions, things like that. Because anything that contains moisture is going to attract mold growth. Mold are nature's composters, right? They break things down. It's part of a natural process. And so in order to inhibit that, you need an anti-nature ingredient, something that is foreign to life itself, foreign to the cycle of growth and decay. And so that's what parabens are. Formaldehydes, propylene glycol, whoops, I lost my thing there. There we go. All of these and quaternium 15, they're all the same thing. They're all forms of formaldehyde as a preservative, which you don't want in your body, right? And then dibutyl and diethyl phthalates. Phthalates often soften a product and give it an even consistency. This is, again, just about appearance and user experience, but it also toxifies the ingredient. And PFAS, which are also known in the media as forever chemicals. So we're going to go into these a little bit. So fragrance or parfum. So in the United States, these two words are considered proprietary formulas in the United States. It's a throwback from like French perfume manufacturing. They don't want to disclose what's in their fragrance because, it's unique and special. But what this has done is it has made companies who know you're looking for parabens on the formula to put the parabens under their fragrance category, right? And so they don't have to disclose it. Simple as that. There are no regulations about what can go into fragrance in this country. It's just considered a proprietary formula, and anything they don't want you to know about, it goes under that umbrella. Now, does that mean you can't buy scented products? Absolutely not. What it means is a good company will disclose to you what is making it smell good, right? So essential oils, often they'll disclose like, oh, this has jasmine essential oil in it, or ylang ylang. And that will tell you like everything needs to be disclosed. Fragrance is just shorthand for, I don't want to tell you what's in this. And I'd rather you know exactly what you're getting, um, rather than, succumb to a corporate loophole. Parabens, preservatives, fungicides. So you can see here, there is a picture of ingredients and towards the end, because they're small amounts. You should know that when you read an ingredient label, it is required that the biggest ingredient is at the top and the smallest quantity of ingredient is at the bottom. They're always listed in quantity order, whether it's food or body care or anything. That is the law. Usually they're towards the bottom, but that does not mean that because they're in small quantities that they are not harmful. These are chemicals that, even though it's a small amount, it will kill everything in the formula for years, which means when you put it on your body, you are absorbing that. One of the things I like to talk about with folks about things that they put on their body is that the skin is not a barrier. It is not a total barrier. And you will absorb 75 to 90% of what you put on your body into your body. It'll go into your skin, it'll go into your fat cells, it'll go into your bloodstream, depending on how big the molecular weight of the chemicals in the formula are. And I can talk about molecular weight a little bit more if folks are interested, but just know like essential oils, the reason topical application of essential oils works is that the molecular weight is under 300, which means it goes not only into the skin and fat, but it goes straight into the bloodstream. And that's what you want when you're applying a therapeutic formula, right? Whether it's essential oils or those topical pain patches, any number of things. The reason it works is because the molecular weight of the ingredients is small enough to go straight into the bloodstream. So these chemicals go straight into your bloodstream. Even though it's a tiny amount, it is a problem. It disrupts hormones in the body, which isn't just about fertility, it's also about the way your body regulates itself. Hormones regulate everything that goes on in your body, whether that's your internal thermostat with your thyroid or your blood sugar with your pancreas. Hormones do the job of making sure you have a healthy homeostasis. Now, if you have an autoimmune disease, you obviously do not have a healthy homeostasis. Something is triggering your immune system to attack a certain part of your body. If that's Crohn's disease, it's your gut. If that's psoriasis, it's your skin. It's the same issue, the same root cause. You've got your immune system going haywire because the balance has been disrupted. So avoid parabens and other types of fungicides. Formaldehydes is a systemic poison. And as you apply something that contains a formaldehyde daily, you are poisoning, poisoning, poisoning yourself. It ends up causing problems. With formaldehyde in a larger setting, they regulate it. People who work with it have to wear masks and gloves and PPE, but it's allowed in our body care, right? The whole ingredient family, which is listed here on the right, in the little white square, all of those things are formaldehydes. And I would bet you dollars to donuts if you buy your body care from a grocery store or a big box store or a pharmacy, it contains some of these. I want you to take the download that Darlene is going to send you and look for these ingredients and chuck anything that has it. Phthalates are endocrine disruptors. It is known that they are detrimental to human health, and they've started regulating them in children's toys. I don't know if you remember a few years back, they talked about, like when I was a kid, they would give you this inflatable clown and you could punch it. Those were full of phthalates, right? Soft plastics. And that's what phthalates do. They soften formulas, make it more pliable. And so some body care contains phthalates because they want the texture of the product, like in lotions or shampoos, to have a certain texture because consumers have become used to them. So you look for that. So I want you to look for any phthalate in your liquidy topical applications. And PFAS, right? Forever chemicals. There are serious problems with these. I'm going to add a list of these ingredients when I sent Darlene this slideshow, just so that you know what to look for. But another really great resource is the Environmental Working Group. They have a whole article and database of forever chemicals, a whole list of things that you can look at. And they're not just in your body care, they're also in home supplies, appliances, cleaning supplies. They are everywhere, unfortunately. And they're causing some serious problems. We have record infertility as a species right now. Um, they decrease the effectiveness of pharmaceuticals that you may need. Um, they increase thyroid dysfunction and blood cholesterol. It's just a huge problem. So I'm going to send Darlene a link so that you can look at PFAS as well. So these are also not often disclosed. So again, look for that perfume loophole. Um, but there is a nationwide call, and often if you go to EWG, it's going to ask you to sign a petition to help them ban. So EWG, Environmental Working Group, is a nonprofit organization. What they do is they disclose toxins in everything, right? They analyze drinking water by geographic location. They have a whole database of what your drinking water is like. They do these endocrine disrupting chemical disclosures. They have a whole database called Skin Deep on body care and cosmetics that help you analyze your particular product. It'll give it a grade like A through F so that you understand. And they'll also tell you what is the problem in that formula. The only way to really protect yourself is to know the company that is making your product. Shop small and artisanal, because most people that you're going to meet face to face are not going to poison you, right? They're going to make a product that they're proud to sell you. And make sure that their label is transparent. Read their label before you purchase. I know there used to be, like when I had a little shop in Columbus, it had herbal remedies and body care. There was one local lotion maker, and she was using a preservative that contained parabens, and she didn't realize that it contained parabens. She was just using, it was called Germall, right? And I looked up Germall, which is a proprietary name, it's just a brand name, and realized that it contained parabens. And I talked to her about it. I was like, I would love to carry your lotions, but they're poison. Do you realize that this preservative that you're using is actually hurting people? And she was floored. She had no idea, right? She just thought, it was a preservative. And so I introduced her to some more of the more natural preservatives that will extend the shelf life. But of course, nature finds a way, right? Decay is a natural part of the cycle. And so you can't postpone it forever. So when I make lotions, and I do, um, I package it in a month's supply because I know that my lotions will last a month in a shelf stable environment. You don't have to refrigerate it. If you refrigerate it, it might actually last longer, but I know that it can last a month, right? So I package it in small amounts. And that way people can get fresh lotion every month. I do it by subscription, la, la, la. But when you buy the massive bottle of lotion from the shelf, which is really hard to get through anyway, that's a red flag, right? The amount of lotion that's in there, you're never going to be able to consume before the natural cycle of decay would be enacted. And frankly, by the time you get to that bottle of lotion on the shelf, it's probably already at least a year old because it goes from the manufacturing plant to the manufacturing warehouse where it sits in a box. And then when the distributor orders a case, it goes to the distributor warehouse. And then when the retailer orders from the distributor, it goes to the retailer warehouse. And then it gets distributed to the big box retailer from the retailer warehouse. By the time it hits the shelf, because there's also a little warehouse in the back of the big box store, by the time it hits the shelf, it's at least a year old. By then it should have already been moldy, but it's not. That tells you something, right? What you're putting on your skin is antithetical to life itself. It's got chemicals in there that will disrupt the natural cycle of life and death. So again, the only way to avoid this is shop small, know the people that are making your products, and go with companies that have transparency. And there are some nationally and internationally distributed companies that I love. And when we get to the end of this, I will tell you their names. Oh, here it is. Ha. Um, so obviously I make things and I've talked about it. Haven Herbs is the company that I co-own. Dr. Hauschka Skincare. This was the very first natural skincare company I ever did. Now, their packages are small, but that's because you use the tiniest amount. The most amazing ingredients. It makes your skin feel so dewy and radiant. And not only do they artisanally make it, they grow their ingredients and they grow them biodynamically, which I could fall down that rabbit hole of what that kind of agriculture is. But it's a really cool process from farm to bottle. And I have used their skincare products and they are amazing. I will attest to that. And then 310 Soap Company is based in Ohio. They have bar soaps, they have facial care, they have treatments, they have body oils that you could use instead of lotions. That's another alternative, right? Instead of going for a lotion, which the formula itself is lipids meet liquids and they are emulsified together, and that's why they absorb into the skin so nicely. That's why most people prefer lotions to oils. But if you immediately get out of the shower and you apply a body oil, it's going to absorb into your skin a lot easier. You're going to use less, and you don't even have to worry about the preservatives, right? Because it's a blend of oils instead of emulsified liquids and lipids together. So 310 Soap Company opts for that approach, right? Rather than having to do a subscription model like I do, where I'm like, oh, every month I got to make more lotions. 310 does body oil, and that is a perfectly lovely way to moisturize. And, you know, as I've gotten older, my skin has gotten drier. So body oil is a total winner for me, right? I can use it. But I also use lotions. So it's up to you, like what you prefer in terms of body care. And I also want to let you know that if you ever have questions beyond these once a month sessions that I do, or you're looking for some help, This is my contact info. Again, you will get it from Darlene, but I am here to answer any questions that you have all the time. That is like my mission. The reason that I do these classes is I want to educate people on holistic wellness. And I do another monthly webinar series called Exploring Wellness. And you're welcome to hop onto that. You can find that on my website too. Different topics on different months. But I am very happy to answer all your questions. I want to make sure that we have time for that because this is a topic that we all need, right? Like I went through it very quickly. Happy to go back and get into more detail about any of the ingredients or, how to avoid plastics because I wanted to leave time for Q&A. We all use body care, right? We all have to take care of our bodies. So I'm sure there must be questions.
So the first question in the chat, Lily, is there a good sunscreen that doesn't leave a white film on your skin?
Okay. So I'm going to start by saying the white film is an indicator that the sunscreen is a natural mineral-based sunscreen, and that is actually what you want. The problem with it staying white is a problem with how it's formulated um, as a lotion, and you just have to keep rubbing in order to get the lotion part of the formula to absorb into your skin. The white part is the zinc oxide or titanium oxide, although I would not use titanium oxide because it's been implicated in some health problems. So I use zinc oxide, and the zinc oxide that I use is what's called non-nanoparticle zinc oxide. Nanoparticles are small particles that are so small that they will enter your skin pores, and that's not what you want. When you're looking for a sunscreen, you want a mineral-based sunscreen that the zinc oxide is going to lay on the surface of the skin and act like little mirrors, reflecting the sunlight so that it doesn't damage your skin. But the lotion part should be formulated as such that it's easy enough to rub in with, a minute or so of rubbing it on your skin. If you are using one that just doesn't seem to do it no matter how hard you rub, I would recommend trying a different sunscreen formula that is zinc oxide based, non-nanoparticle. But I will tell you that sunscreen that you buy commercially is often chemical sunscreen rather than mineral sunscreen. And if it's more than 30 SPF, that's already a red flag because number one, it's no more effective than a 30 SPF. But the chemicals that make it higher, like 50 SPF or whatever, are problems. They are carcinogens. They are endocrine disruptors. You don't want those. They only block UVA and not UVB anyway, but you don't want those. So that includes lotions that you get at the thing, but also the spray sunscreens. Sunscreen is tricky, right? You need to rub it in and make sure that you don't look like a ghost, but also you need to make sure that it is a clean formula and that it doesn't have a lot of extra ingredients that you don't want. Again, it's a lotion, right? Most of the time. You can also get a stick, but that's also hard to rub in, or a salve. Those are also harder to rub in. I prefer making a sunscreen lotion because it's easier for people to use. But yeah, you're going to want something that is 30 SPF, not higher, only mineral based and not chemical based. And there's a whole sunscreen article on the EWG website, ewg.org, that I will also send along to Darlene because it wasn't in the slideshow. But you can check out the chemicals that you want to avoid, but then they also recommend some nationally distributed brands that are safe. And Haven makes sunscreen, and you can get it year round by subscription. And then in the summer, we just make a whole lot of extra because we're based here in this area. So Yeah. I hope that answers your question. If you have any follow-up questions, please ask.
This question is, I think it's pronounced urea, urea,
Mhm.
40 on a foot callus to soften it. What would be a better choice?
So, number one, if you have a callus, it's going to keep coming back, but using some sort of pumice stone to file it down. And then softening is really easy. You can just, after you've exfoliated, that's the word I'm looking for, exfoliated, then you can add an oil. And some oils are more applicable than others. I actually really like olive oil. Not only is it safe to ingest, and most people don't have allergies to it, but it's really great for the skin and the hair. Um, so I would just invest in some of those moisturizing socks, the things that you put on after you've they have gloves too. Like if you really want to do a deep moisturizing treatment, um, take your bath at night, exfoliate, put your moisturizer on there, and then put on the socks, and it'll stay on there, it'll absorb into the skin, and it'll soften calluses.
The next question, what is a better choice than dental floss?
Hmm. Um, I really like those water picks. Um, they are more sustainable in the long run because most dental floss, not all, but most dental floss is not sustainable. It's waxed with paraffin. It's usually a synthetic makeup, but you can buy natural dental floss. EcoDent is a brand that makes natural floss that can be composted and isn't waxed with paraffin. It's waxed with beeswax instead. Um, but I also really like water picks. And the only thing that you have to do is either cleanse the spout part of it, and then you can reuse it over and over again, or buy new small plastic spouts. I have one that I've had for, gosh, 20 years. Um, my dentist. So I'm very prone to a lot of tartar buildup. I don't know why, I just am. So I have an electric toothbrush, and that also helps me save on a little plastic waste, right? Because I'm only replacing the head every so often. They do make bamboo toothbrushes with natural bristles. If you want to do that, that is another way of eliminating plastic. But my dentist was like, if you don't want to be in here every 3 months getting like hard scaling, you need to have an electric toothbrush. So I bit the bullet and I got one. Um, and so I use an electric toothbrush, and then I also use the water pick. And that's how I do.
Okay. Is Trader Joe's a big box store?
Yeah. Um, so Trader Joe's is one of those companies that is nationwide. It has its own warehouses, its own supply chain. Um, and most of their supply chain, even though it's like branded as Trader Joe's, are made by the same factories as the stuff that you find at Kroger or Costco. They're just branded differently, right? Um, and they do go for some smaller manufacturers, like their oyster crackers are made by a small New England company that makes their own brand of oyster crackers, but then they also make for Trader Joe's. But a lot of their supply chain is the same, right? The people that make goldfish make whatever it is for Trader Joe's. I don't know if it's a fish or if it's another shape, but it's the same cracker, right? So yes, they are a big box store.
So, as you were giving your presentation, a question was, yes, how to avoid plastics. And I think you might have talked about the glass and the other containers.
Yes. It usually means avoiding buying these kinds of products in big box stores because most of them carry products that are just all about the plastic because it's the cheapest. When you're buying from a big box store, the priority there is profit margin for both the retailer, for the wholesaler, for the distributor. So they're going to cheap out on packaging, they're going to cheap out on ingredients as much as possible. The products that you find there aren't as high of quality as something that is small and artisanal. Now, I know Columbus has some really awesome small stores and also farmers markets where people who make artisanal body care are there. And you can ask them questions about their formulas. When I lived in Columbus, Haven would go to the farmers market, and I also found a lot of my um, uh, vendors that I brought into the store at the farmers market, and I would vet them. I would, if you can find a store that does the vetting that I used to do in Columbus, that's the best, right? If you know that the store is looking out for your best interests and not going to carry something that has toxic ingredients, that's the best. And if not, then you're relying on your own ability to read a label and ask questions. I do know, and I'm not sure about the products that they carry, but I do know that Wildcat in Clintonville has a lot of local body care um, products. They used to be called Holy Craft. They're right on, oh, darn it. It's been like 10, I don't even know how long it's been. It's the main drag in Clintonville. It's not Indianola, it's the other one. High? Is it High? Is it High Street? I think it's High Street. Sorry. Sorry about that. But yeah, they are right on the main drag of Clintonville, right where the farmers market happens. Um, go in there and look at their products, and a lot of them are packaged in glass and metal as well, and they have handcrafted soaps. Ask questions, read labels. You know, I would start doing that. And then, we live in a glorious time where everything is available online. And so looking for products that you can have shipped directly to your home, a lot of them have subscription models, so you don't even have to think about it. And every month you're just going to be getting your shipment. Like, those are really great ways to avoid plastic and toxins at the same time.
Question is, can you go into particle size a bit? Something mentioned about 300.
Yeah, so I was talking about molecular weight. And what that is every molecule has a molecular weight. Hydrogen is a molecular weight of 1, it is the baseline. Um, but different chemicals have different molecular weights. And based on its molecular weight, it may stay on the surface of the skin, it may permeate the skin, it may go into fat cells, or it may go directly into the bloodstream. Um, Chemicals that have a molecular weight of 300 or less will go directly into the bloodstream. So the skin is not a total barrier. It's not, just gonna, whatever you put on it is not just gonna stay in the skin. It's why, for example, I do not make a sunscreen that has any essential oils in it. Number one, I want it to be safe for even infants, but also for people that are chemically sensitive. Um, but all essential oils, yeah, I would say all essential oils have a molecular weight of 300 or less. So they go directly into the bloodstream when you apply them topically. And again, when you apply essential oils topically, please use a carrier oil and dilute it appropriately. Anywhere from 1 to 5% of your formula is appropriate. More than that is overkill and potentially exposing you to more chemicals than you need. And I will remind people that just because it comes from a plant doesn't mean it's not a chemical, and it doesn't mean that you can't overdo it. Anything that can help you can also harm you if you don't use it properly or in the right amounts. So, learning about essential oil safety, which are we doing that this year, Darlene? Um,
I think we gave that one a skip since we'd done it 2 previous years.
okay, so we're going to
But
do it next year.
but the video from your previous class is on our YouTube channel.
Yes, and I do believe that I will be doing it as a different webinar series that I don't do with Cancer Support Community, but I do make public. You could register for that on my website as well. But essential oil safety is huge. Essential oils kind of, several years back were just everywhere. Everybody was doing them, and it was all about, using them instead of other things. And what I found was people were using them in an unsafe way, mainly because there were two big multi-level marketing companies that were promoting unsafe use. They were telling you to ingest them, which is always a no-no. They were telling you to use a lot. And the reason they were telling you to do these things is they wanted you to use more so that you would buy more. It was very unethical. So I created an essential oil safety class um, that I offer via webinar, and I've done it like the, Ohio Nurses Association conference and things like that. And I have an online course that's several months long that you could take if you really want to take a deep dive into essential oils, if you really like them, because they are helpful, but also can be harmful if you don't.
Which ties in perfectly for the next question. They say, I use essential oils for body care. Is there a safe supplier?
Yes, absolutely there is. So I look for any brand that discloses on their website and on their label the following things. First, not just the common botanical name, but the scientific botanical name, so that you know that you're getting exactly what you want, because there is a difference between lemon essential oils, for example. There's two different kinds of lemon used. One of them is phototoxic, the other is not, as long as it's steam distilled. You want to know precisely what botanical you're getting. You also want to know what part of the botanical you're getting. There is a difference between clove leaf and clove bud, for example. And if it just says clove and it doesn't tell you what part, it's probably cheap and is clove leaf and not what you're looking for, because it doesn't have the same constituents in it. The other thing is that they don't prescribe unsafe use. Any company that tells you to ingest their essential oils, run away screaming. And if you're looking for brand recommendations, my number one recommendation for folks is Plant Therapy. They are US and they have relationships with their suppliers. Sometimes they grow their own, but they know exactly their farmer and what they're getting. They worked with Robert Tisserand, who is the world's foremost expert on essential oils. He wrote a textbook about yay thick called Essential Oil Safety that everyone who works with essential oils should probably read. And they even created a kid safe line, because not all essential oils are safe for children. In fact, quite a few popular ones are not safe for children, like eucalyptus or peppermint, under the age of 10. So, yeah, those are some criteria. Plant Therapy is a really great all-around brand. If you're looking for more exotic and fancy schmancy oils, Floracopia is a really great company that is also sustainable. Another problem with this industry is that some of them have been cited for violating the Endangered Species Act. The two brands that I absolutely will never buy, doTERRA and Young Living, have both violated the Endangered Species Act and have gotten fined. Just a cost of doing business for them, though. Like, we want frankincense and myrrh and all of these really potent botanicals to be here for future generations, and yet you've got these people poaching and buying endangered species instead of the less endangered species, and it's a problem, right? So I like Plant Therapy, I like Floracopia, I like Tisserand, although you'll probably pay tariffs because it's a British brand, and I also like a German brand called Oshadi. I'm gonna put that in the chat because it's so hard to spell. I think that went in the chat. Yeah, it's very hard to spell, so I figured I'd spare Darlene the angst. But they're a German company, and they actually go above and beyond, and they bottle their essential oils on site. They want everything as soon as it's picked at the peak of its potency going into the steam distiller. So they literally move their steam distiller to the field, and they do it that way. That's how fancy schmancy that brand is. So yeah, you could take a deep dive. I tell you, there's a lot of info just about essential oils. But yeah, I've done that deep dive. You don't have to do it. You can just ask me.
So the next question, Lily, is what about baby oil and petroleum jelly?
I would not put petroleum products on your body. I just wouldn't. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you rub gasoline on your body, right? Like petroleum-based products we know are harmful. Plastics are harmful. Gasoline is harmful. So is petroleum, and I would not use them. Um, and that includes other types of fossil fuel byproducts. So if you are using cosmetics or buying food that say F, D, and C color, those are byproducts of coal mining. And I would not ingest or put them on my body. I avoid those. And you'd be surprised. There are so many foods, especially if you buy ultra processed foods, that contain those colors. Doritos, for example. Um, they're byproducts of coal mining and they're just not good for you. Petroleum products really should never have been used. Kind of like talc never should have been used for powder. Um, but they were because they were cheap and plentiful, and the research was not done in this country. And again, companies do their own research here and submit it. But yeah, in other countries, they don't really use mineral oil except when they're like sharpening knives, right? Mineral oil on metals, that tends to be a thing, but not on bodies.
And a question, I use glass bottles for my oils, but most spouts are plastic. How to avoid?
It's hard. It's really hard. You can search for all metal mechanisms. You will spend a lot on them, but also they will last you forever. Usually you buy the spouts and they're all metal and they just have the spring inside to help you with the pump. Once you find them, you want to make sure that you're using standard size orifices so you know it's going to fit your bottle. I found them for like mason jars and also what's called a Boston round. Um, if you've ever bought a tincture, it's either in a 1 ounce or a 4 ounce or a 2 ounce bottle, and those are Boston round bottles. They're like amber and they have a narrow neck and usually a little dropper. Um, those I can find all metal pumps for. They are expensive, but they're also a lifetime investment. It's like buying a metal straw, right? Um, Instead of having plastic straws or paper straws that get all mushy, a metal straw, and investing in a little brush that will clean it. Yeah.
And then is CeraVe a good lotion to use?
I'm not familiar with it. I highly recommend going to ewg.org. I'm going to type it in the chat. Oh, no, that's you as in female sheep. Hold on. ewg.org. There we go. That's the second link. ewg.org. They will give you a grade, A through F, and they will tell you precisely what may be wrong with some of the ingredients in it. I would check it out, right? But I've seen that, I think, in drugstores, and it is encased in plastic. So there's that. And microplastics especially love fatty, and so do forever chemicals. They're fat soluble. They'll leach into the product very easily. So I highly, especially with like baby products, don't buy baby products encased in plastic. Diaper creams, oils, whatever you're gonna change that diaper, because you're putting the cream on the baby and it's just leaching right in because the fat acts as like a tool to extract the microplastics, and then it goes into the baby. So yeah, I highly recommend avoiding plastic first and then looking at formulas as your steps to detoxifying. And obviously this is a long process, right? Like I've just overloaded you with lots of information about what you should be doing. Now, step one, step two, it could take you months. Like when I do a group wellness coaching program, I have this one called Wellness in Weeks. We spend an entire month on detoxing. And what I mean by that is body care, cleaning products, appliances in your home every week we do an assignment so that every week you're sort of taken along on this detoxification journey, because it's a lot. I don't mean to overwhelm you. It's going to take you a while to replace things, and find what it is that works for you. It's a process. Don't feel like you have to do it overnight, but I would encourage you to do it.
Mm. The next question is, are canned vegetables labeled what the lining is somewhere on the label, if not buying fresh? Also, what about placing produce in those plastic bags?
Yeah, you can buy little mesh bags for your produce and take them with your, your reusable shopping bags. If you're already doing reusable shopping bags and not getting, supermarket bags, just take the plunge. If you Google, reusable produce bags, they'll come up. They're mesh. They often either have a drawstring or a zipper so that you can just put your vegetables in those. And then there was a second part of that question.
The metal lining in canned vegetables, is that anywhere on the label?
Not always. And even the ones that say BPA free, because a lot of people want to avoid BPA. It's one of those endocrine disrupting chemicals. Even the ones that claim to be BPA free have been tested and are not BPA free all the time. It is a problem with the supply chain, right? Um, I highly recommend, and I know not everybody can do this, but canning your own vegetables and beans. So, number one, for beans, it's super easy. Just buy them dried. Buy them dried, put them immediately into a glass container to store them long term, and then invest in an instant pot. I love my instant pot so much. You can go from dry beans to cooked beans in 1 hour without soaking them overnight or anything. 1 hour, and you've got beans. Um, Now, for canning, if you don't grow your own food, not everybody does. I get that. But make a deal with your farmer at the farmer's market or go to one of those Amish produce auctions. There are a ton of them in Ohio. Invest in the vegetables that you love and want to eat throughout the winter and can them. Get a pressure canner. It usually costs a couple $100. It will last you a lifetime. And get some, quart-sized jars or pint-sized jars, depending on how many people you live with, and can. It's not hard, I promise you. I learned how to do it as an adult, never was taught it as a kid, not part of my reality, and I learned how to can. It is the easiest thing. In fact, it is so easy that when I make a big pot of soup or chili or whatever, I'll have leftovers because why make a little bit, right? Like you make a big bit. And then I can it literally after the meal as part of the cleanup. I'm putting it in my jars. I'm putting it in the canner. I'm turning it on. And then by the end of the night, the canning's done and I just let it release and do its thing. And then in the morning, I take it out of the water. The easiest thing ever. And I don't have to take up freezer space. I don't have to um, take up fridge space. It's shelf stable. All of a sudden, I can just come home after a long day of work, take a can off the shelf, dump it in a saucepan, and have chili or soup or whatever that was made a month ago. So, these are ways to, number one, be more sustainable, um, and invest in things that are going to last a long time. Number two, avoid plastic in your life. And number three, really get you through the hard times economically, because all of these things are things that people have done for a long time to preserve the harvest, to make sure that they were provided for. We saw during COVID, the height of the shutdowns, supply chains broke down. People did not have all the things that they needed and were counting on being in the supermarket. Um, it was a wake up call for me, right? So being able to provide for yourself, even if it means going to the Amish auction once a year, getting those things, um, and canning them yourself, will mean that you're provided for all winter long, and you don't have to buy it at the supermarket during the winter. Um, yeah, it's lifestyle changes, and I get that, right? Like, there are certain things that everybody can do, and there are certain things that only some people can do. Um, and I am very well aware that not everybody who is in cancer recovery has the spoons to do all this extra work. And if you don't, there is no shame in that, right? Um, Maybe you can ask a friend or a relative to come over and do these things for you, right? Or maybe you host a canning party where you all learn together and you can sit down and watch everybody pre-process the vegetables and make the cans. And because you have the canner and they came over and used your space, you get your vegetables and you didn't have to put in that work. I get it. Um, there's lots of ways to get these things done for yourself without having to exhaust yourself. So, yes.
Great. The next question is, can you recommend a safe cosmetic brand?
Sure. Um, there are some mineral-based uh, cosmetics for different color, like eyeshadow or blush, that are completely safe. They don't use the FD&C colors. I'm trying to remember some of the names. I would Google mineral-based makeup. And there are obviously national brands, but I also know that there are two local Columbus brands. Um, One of them used to be called Quirky Clean. She may have changed the name of her company. I'm not sure, but I used to carry her in the store. Really pretty colors. Um, and then there was another one that I used to carry also. There are safe cosmetics. And again, ewg.org will have recommendations for you of clean cosmetics. They have a whole database and they have a whole article on what to look for and different brands that they recommend.
Okay. I was using olive oil on my skin. It stains my clothing. What would you recommend?
So number one, if it stains your clothing, you're probably applying too much because it's being left on your skin for a longer period of time when you're ready to get dressed. So number one, I would use less. Number two, you might want to do it only after you take a shower so that it absorbs more quickly into your skin. If you're doing it and not, on dry skin, it will take longer to soak in. And number three, a lotion will absorb much more quickly than an oil. And if you wanted to switch to a lotion, again, look for a brand that is encased in glass, is in a small enough portion that you can use it and it doesn't have fungicides and things like that in it. Um, you know, I make that, but there are other companies that do as well. Um, yeah, I would check out EWG if you're looking for a nationwide distributed brand, and if not, you could check out Haven Herbs. We have a subscription model and a pre-sale model. So if you want to try it, you would order a pre-sale, and then on the 15th, we cut off sales for that month, and then I make them and we ship them out. But we also have a subscription where you can, get it every month and it automatically happens. And it's not just the body lotion, it's also face serum, it's sunscreen, it's magnesium lotion for people that need magnesium lotion to get to sleep or with leg cramps and stuff. We make a bunch of different kinds of lotions. I also make a lady lotion, which is like a wild yam cream. All of those are available either by pre-sale or subscription, and that is the way that I have been able to guarantee that they are toxin free and also stable for the month that you have them. Yeah.
The next question I think is kind of easily answered. So probably best not to buy wrapped vegetables then, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Being able to get your produce directly from farms or buying it bulk from shops that do that. One of my favorite places that has all loose produce is Saraga. Saraga has two locations in Columbus. I usually go to the one when I'm in town on Morse Road. Their produce section is epic. And it is a supermarket that is meant for every type of immigrant community that is in the area. So it's got really amazing African produce, Asian produce, uh, just everything that you can imagine is there, and some things you probably haven't imagined. Really, really awesome produce, herbs, everything fresh.
Great. And then we have just one last question, and then we do need to wrap up. What's the recommended brand of the canner you described?
So I highly recommend getting a pressure canner rather than a water bath canner, because water bath canners aren't safe for everything that you'd want to can. And let's say you made chili with meat in it, you're going to need a pressure canner anyway. Everything can be pressure canned, not everything can be water canned. So that's the first thing. Get a pressure canner. The size will depend on how many people you are attempting to feed. Like my house is 5 people, so I got a big one, so that I can do, what is it? 10 quarts at a time. I don't usually make that much, but I have the ability to do that, so I do. Um, and I would recommend, I'm going to put a thing in the chat. Layman's. Layman's is in Ohio, and it is kind of a homesteading store. Um, it has really awesome canners that are made in the USA, are really rigorous, are a lifetime investment of different sizes. They have an online store, and they also, it's a super fun visit. If you want to see like cool old-timey farm tools and kitchen tools, you can buy a butter churn, for crying out loud. Go to Layman's. It is so much fun.
Okay, well, Lily, that brings us a little after 10, so we are going to cut off the questions. Everybody will have your contact information, and as you mentioned earlier, they are more than welcome to reach out to you one-on-one if questions come up between now and by the time I'm able to send out the book and the PowerPoint that Lily is going to be sending me. So look for those emails from me. Lily just put her contact information in the chat as well. So Lily, thank you again so very much for spending this time with us, sharing your wealth of information and expertise. We greatly appreciate you and Haven Herbs allowing you to provide this very, very educational natural living workshop.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I look forward to hearing from some of you.